Okay, Gavin, look, good evening. In your time here, you've had some big games and some really big occasions, but perhaps not too many bigger than this cup tie. And, clearly points are the priority in the league this season. They have to be. But what would a win in the FA Cup this Saturday mean for you and the club?
Yeah, obviously the FA Cup comes as a real esteemed competition. So what it would mean to the football club is certainly finances, I'm sure. Not sure what that looks like, but you assume that puts us in a really great position. I think from the fans' perspective, just again, little old Brackley, 18,500 in terms of population. We're yet again having another brilliant day. Certainly in my tenure here, we've been really fortunate that everybody's worked really hard towards having days like Saturday. So for the supporters, I'm sure they're looking forward to it. Well, I know they are. I'm hearing it really, really vocal, certainly at training the other night. And again, just for the football club, the people who have been attached to the football club for the last decade, have been working towards the club being what it is now in terms of a professional football club, with big plans for the future. So it's another step in our journey. It's one that, from a professional perspective, we understand is a big task. But, myself and my staff are working and doing all the due diligence we can to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward come Saturday and giving a really good account of Brackley Town Football Club, the supporters, the players, the staff, the hierarchy, and the town itself.
What do you know about this Notts County team that are going to be coming here on Saturday?
Yeah, well, we know that they're, a very professional outfit. We know that they're, very keen to play a lot of football and move the ball. Very talented players, whether they be players that they've got signed or loan players. Strength in depth. We're not sure what's going to come Saturday, so we've got to be prepared for all eventualities. So, depending on how they're going to take it is dependent on how we'll be. So, yeah, we're just having to make sure we double down on our sort of due diligence again, as it were, our intel, and it's proving very difficult. Like I say, giving me sleepless nights somewhat. So, but it's also something that we're really relishing. These are the things that we're involved in football for. As staff and players, we want to welcome brilliant opposition, good management, good clubs, huge football clubs, and good players. So we want to pit our wits against the best. That's what it's all about. We don't want to be on easy street. We dared to dream last year, got promoted, went to Stockport, gave them a fright. So look, we're not totally inexperienced about playing class opposition, and that's what they are. They're a real class outfit.
And just following on from that, you've got some really experienced players in your squad, in the team, with 300, 400 appearances for Brackley. How important are the likes of Gaz Dean and Matt Lowe and Shane Byrne to the team? Yeah, well,
we're not just, players in our team bring a huge amount, and we're not just looking at the opposition. We obviously have to look at ourselves and what impact we can have. So listen, make no mistake, we're very respectful, although not too respectful of the opposition. We know what they bring. We're not naive to that, but equally we have a lot of belief in ourselves. Anyone who comes to watch us play games, they know how good we are. What we can do with the ball, without the ball, and those players all need to call on all of their experience come Saturday. We'll need to put our best foot forward, and what that means is, past experiences, recent experiences, the team collectively, the changing room. We talk a lot about ability, conditioning, mentality. And something I refer to them a lot about is like this elite warrior mentality that we need to have in all areas of what we do, and the players know that saying only too well. So not just the experienced players that we know that we can call upon and we know what we're going to get, but we're asking them all to step up now, just with all three of them. Like I say, it's ability, it's conditioning, which we have to get right at the level that we're playing now, but also a real steely mentality and a belief and a desire to want to go and pit our wits up against these guys and believe that we can go and win games.
Well, it's a battle, one of the strongest defences in the National League from us this season, versus actually the second strongest attack in League Two. And what are you kind of going to prepare to stop them from scoring goals, really? Yeah,
listen, we as you allude to there, we've got a real strong, defence in terms of our record. It doesn't come easy. We have to work very strategically and very hard at it. We're very aware that they equally, work hard from the front line, right the way through. They're not just a defence. They're very similar to us in that like. But two different strategies, and they pose a real threat. You know, whether it's from wide areas, from central areas, from top to bottom, they pose a real threat. So we know what we're facing, and we know very well. We've done analysis already this week. We're doing another analysis session tonight. We're really prepared for what they're going to offer. Whether we can stop that is yet to be seen, because like I say, that we're talking about a very good calibre of football club personnel that we're dealing with. But listen, yes, we're going to do our due diligence in terms of Notts County, huge football club with brilliant staff and players. But equally, we have a big belief in ourselves and what we can do. So yes, we're very much concentrating on how we're going to stop them scoring, but I'm sure they're doing the same with us, because we pose a real threat also.
Speaking of quality, we've obviously got the likes of Scott Pollock, Morgan Roberts, and even Callum, who's just come on loan. What kind of magic are you expecting from these lot to bring?
Yeah, the magic I'm expecting from my players is, not just the three that you've mentioned in Morgan Roberts, Scott Pollock and Callum Stewart. We really believe we've got goals all over the pitch. At the moment, it is something that we're struggling a little bit with in the league. We feel like we're ultra competitive, sometimes dominant in games, but football's about moments. And when you're on top, which you always will have a spell in a game, you have to make it tell. So that's something that we're working on at the moment. I feel like that comes down to a bit of mentality, a bit of bravery, a bit of courage. And again, we're evolving into this league, but we're going to have to learn very quickly. And certainly against opposition like Notts County, we're going to have to make sure we're ready for them big moments. So the players know what's in front of them.
Okay, with it being a later than normal kick-off for Saturday, how does that affect yours and the team's pre-match preparation? Yeah,
the times of the game on the day are obviously later. They do impact everybody to a point, but listen, we're at a stage now where we're professionals. The lads understand that they have to alter their timings. They have to communicate with family. They have to travel times. Myself and my staff also need to cater to that. And it is something that we've been speaking about this week as staff, and we will make sure that we prepare accordingly. But it's of course it's something slightly different, but doesn't weigh too much on the mind. Listen, as professionals, you have to play the cards you're dealt with, and on this occasion, we're very fortunate to have the game televised, so we're really pleased with that. So if we have to, put up with the game being 2.5 hours later than usual, then listen, we'll make the necessary adjustments and hopefully make it work for us.
From a point of view of the cameras being here, as you just said, how delighted are you that it gives the opportunity to get Brackley's name out there to the wider audience? It's not very every day that we're on the BBC, especially at this time. So it really gives an opportunity for the club to be spread throughout the UK. People often ask, where is Brackley? Obviously this is going to put us on the map once again, hopefully.
Yeah, I'd like to think we're at a stage now when you talk about Brackley being put on the map. I think we're at a stage where we've had enough moments in our history, prior to myself and my tenure with the FA Trophy win, and obviously coming so close on so many occasions. I think there was the FA Cup game against Gillingham. I'm really well read on the history of our club, and obviously in my time here we've had a lot of success, which is real credit to obviously the players, the staff, everybody attached to the football club, because it wasn't coming overnight. But I do think it's important that we will be taking the main stage. We will be. I think it's important that we're passionate about the town, the community. We are a community club that's transitioned from a community club into a professional community club. We've won it. Certainly in my time here, I was very big on taking us away from not just being community, but being that community professional football club, which I feel like we've done a lot on and off the field. And yeah, we're fully aware that we're representing ourselves, we're representing each other, and that's what I relish, because only just on my way here, in discussions of there's so many brilliant people attached to this football club, right the way through. We believe in community and collaboration between the hierarchy at the club, the staff and the players and the fans. That sort of trio for me is key. We've had that a lot. I'm sure that'll be tested, because now we're going to a higher level of opposition. So maybe our success rate in terms of win percentages won't be as high. I hope it is, but we've got we're into the sort of late 50%, which is extraordinary record. So you find out about people in tough times. This this is a really great moment, you know. So we know that everybody will double down. We know that everyone will be on it. So, you know, I can't wait for the cameras to see the, you know, I hope it'll be able to pick up the atmosphere. I think at grounds like this, you're able to pick up the atmosphere through the TV, you know. It's and I hope they can, because it's going to be a brilliant day. I know everybody attached is really excited. From my side, we have to try and just manage the players and make sure that they're focused and professional. But I totally understand everybody will be getting very excited, and understandably, you know, the whole country will be tuning in to watch their football, get their football fix. You know, whether they're systematically looking to watch our game, I'm not sure, but I certainly know when I'm at home, if there's a game on BBC, I'm tuning in. So even the average supporter will be tuning in, and you know, we're really relishing that, because it's another opportunity for us as Brackley Town Football Club to put ourselves on the map, and there's no better way of doing it than the FA Cup.
Gav, the FA Cup remains a magical competition worldwide. I was just wondering what your earliest and your favourite memory of the competition is. Yeah,
my memories of the FA Cup are just really deep rooted. You know, when I was a young lad, it was everything. It was, you know, without doubt the most prestigious tournament in the world. Probably still does remain so with a lot of people. You know, alongside Champions Leagues, but certainly in England, it's you know, revered and held in such high esteem. And I think my earliest memories, I'm a QPR fan, Dash, as you know. Still trying to convince my boys to follow, my youngest one does, but also loved Liverpool. I remember the '89 Cup final against Everton, and I remember many of them. I remember the semi-final, Liverpool versus Crystal Palace, when Palace won 4-3. So I could go on, you know, so many games right the way through the rounds, and just remember running around as a kid on the playground, you know. But same, we've won the FA Cup, you know, in extra time of the FA Cup, and you score the winner. I think that was every lad my age was doing it at the time. So yeah, really deep rooted for me. So, you know, I'm so privileged and proud to be a part of what's going to be an unbelievable day for the football club. You know, we had a fantastic day last year, you know, just pipped by Stockport County. But God willing, you know, we can just go that extra step against real high calibre opposition this year, and again be another memory for everybody in the FA Cup in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We still talk about Sutton's win against Coventry. You know, we still talk about Wrexham's win against Arsenal. You know, we could go on all day, couldn't we? And that's the joy of the FA Cup. So I'm just hoping, and it's going to, listen, it doesn't come easy. You know, it's going to have to be a lot of hard work. There's going to have to be a lot of, you know, God willing, a lot of luck go our way. We know this, but that's what the FA Cup provides. So why not us? Why can't we be the club that people are talking about in the next 20, 25 years? So listen, we've got a job to do. We know what's ahead of us, and being part of the FA Cup's history is something that we're all really passionate about.
You've spoken about the magic of the FA Cup, and certainly around the club this week there's that sense of expectation and anticipation and excitement. You often talk about the strength of our supporters here. What role do you think they can play in helping the team, getting behind the team on Saturday?
Yeah, the role of the supporters is always important, I think, to every club. I think we, as I've stated previously, we have transitioned from a community club into a professional community club, and you know, no matter how much success we have, hopefully in the future, you know, starting Saturday would be nice. Hopefully we can keep progressing as a football club, but the fans will always be the core of that. You know, we certainly don't want to come across as cheesy or, you know, just relaying the obvious, but everybody knows here, you know, we're very quick to mix and liaise with our fans after the games. They're very vocal in a really lovely way. You know, there's a lot of connection between the hierarchy, the fans and the players and staff. They're integral to what we do, and they have been over certainly my tenure here. I can only speak for my time here, and that's 2.5 years of just full support, really vocal, full backing at the top end of real success, and some of the low moments as well, which you have to go through to learn. So, you know, for me, the FA Cup, there's no better way of rewarding the fans by giving them a day like this. So, listen, we're halfway there by giving them a fantastic day, but, you know, only God willing we'll know whether we can get that win on Saturday.
Okay, on Saturday, you are Chef Cowan, okay? And you're intending to bake a cake called Potential Cup Shock. What essential football ingredients are you putting in it to try and make it a success?
Okay, so you're asking me to make a cake based on success for Saturday's game. I would just go down the route of saying that we need full commitment, hard work, desire, all players doing a job and a half, courage, bravery, stick that in the oven. Hopefully that comes out, right timings, it's risen right. Then you can start to decorate it, with some real flair, some real patterns in terms of, a lot of what we work on. Some real bravery, again, courage thrown in there, but flair, desire to play forward, run forward, crosses, shots, quick, clever play. We want to be exciting. So hopefully we can sprinkle the top of it with a bit of that, and it comes out as a bit of a masterpiece. But like I say, God willing, we first and foremost, the controllables I ask of my players. Hard work, desire, doing a job and a half, being reliable, being efficient, committing as much as possible, and then if we can add some of the game strategy, then we know we're competitive and we're in for what I hope will be a really good day.
So this weekend, the corresponding weekend last year, we are playing against Braintree Town. Now we're a division below, and that's what we've got this Saturday as well with our opponents. Do you see any parallels leading up to the game?
Parallels between obviously Brackley and Braintree this time last year and Saturday's game would be, it's not something I thought of, is the truth. No, I would say this is probably another level to that. I feel like at the time Braintree were holding their own in the National League and we were really, on the front foot, and I felt like that was probably more of a closer encounter. We felt really confident going into that game, certainly being at home. With this, I think the gulf's a little bit more. I think when you talk about us still being one of, if not the only part-time team in the National League, having just been promoted, yes, we're evolving. We feel like we've seen a lot of growth since the start of the season in all areas, certainly on the pitch, and we'll continue to do that. But you're now talking about Notts County, who have been way up there, the dizzy heights of the top leagues, Division 1 at the time when it was that. You're talking about some of the obvious full-time, complete infrastructure, complete working business right the way through every part of the sector that is football. You can't really compare. So listen, we're endeavouring to do that. We're dreaming big. We're working really hard behind the scenes. I think everybody at the football club is doing the town proud and the football club proud. We're very ambitious, and I think, listen, it's going to take a lot to get to where Notts County are, but why not? Why can't we be that club in years to come? But at this moment in time, the gulf is huge, which makes it even more exciting for me. And hopefully they'll be writing us off. I'm not sure they will. I think they'll be a bit more professional than that. But I think they'll know that we're very ambitious and we're very capable on the day.
So 48 hours time, about now, the team will be in action. So what would be your last message for the team before they go out into St James's Park?
As it always is, Dash, the truth. My message to the players is always the same. There's obviously a build-up. Yes, we have to prepare for different opposition accordingly. But it is always be brave, work hard, show desire, courage. We talk about the patterns. The numbers look after the patterns. So go and be brave. Dare to lose possession. Dare to make a mistake. Dare to put yourself out there and be shot at. Because otherwise, you live with regrets. So listen, we like to feel like we're very structured. But equally, when that ball turns over, we just want the boys to go and enjoy themselves. And when they do enjoy themselves, we see the best of them. And we've seen that over the last 2.5 years. So the message would be brave, be courageous, work hard, go and believe. Non-tangibles, believe it, have confidence, enjoy yourself, and just go and be the best version of yourself. That's all you can ask.
Final question for you then, Gavin. That's your message to the players. What's your final message to supporters ahead of Saturday?
Yeah, come Saturday, the message to supporters is, as always, get behind the team, give us everything. It's going to be 95, 100 minutes of, real up and downs. I'm sure. We're going to have to firefight. We're going to be on top. We're going to have chances. In all of their moments, just ask them to get behind the players. Ask the players to be the best version of themselves. And as always, you know, having been a supporter myself, you ask the players to just be fully committed, hard work, show desire, give everything that you've got, be brave, be courageous, leave nothing in the changing room and just get out on the pitch. And what you want to see the supporters is encouraging that, which they always do. Our supporters are, you know, as long as they get everything from the players out on that pitch, we normally get a clap. So I know that they're behind us. I want them to be really vocal, you know, try and out-sing the Notts County fans. Try and cheer louder than what you usually would, because we're going to need everything. And, you know, all of those ingredients put together, we like to think that, you know, God willing, we'll get the win.